The fashion world didn't hear it at first, it felt it. It wasn't announced on a runway. It wasn't teased in a glossy campaign. It didn't arrive with flashing lights or dramatic music. It happened quietly, almost accidentally, in a few seconds of raw footage that spread faster than anyone could control. Jungkook of BTS was simply walking. No performance, no choreography, no stage, just Jungkook moving forward with a calm, unbothered stride. And somehow that walk alone shook the entire fashion industry. At first glance it looked ordinary. A casual walk through an airport corridor, shoulders relaxed, head slightly tilted, hands moving naturally with each step. But within hours that ordinary moment became extraordinary. Fans replayed it again and again. Editors slowed it down frame by frame. Stylists froze screenshots, designers whispered, executives paid attention. Something about the way Jungkook walked triggered a global reaction that no one could predict. This wasn't just about clothes, this was about presence. Jungkook's walk carried confidence without arrogance, power without aggression, elegance without effort. There was no exaggerated swagger, no forced masculinity, no rehearsed pose. It was pure instinct. His body moved like it belonged to the space around him, like the world was adjusting itself to his pace rather than the other way around. In fashion, that kind of natural authority cannot be taught. It cannot be manufactured. It either exists or it doesn't. And in Jungkook's case, it existed so loudly that even luxury giants couldn't ignore it. Within days, fashion forums exploded. Headlines didn't even focus on what he was wearing anymore. They focused on how he moved, the walk that redefined modern masculinity. When a stride becomes a statement, Jungkook's silent fashion revolution. These weren't exaggerations, they were reactions, because the industry realized something unsettling. Jungkook didn't need a runway, the runway needed him. BALENCIAGA was among the first to truly understand what was happening. Inside the fashion house, discussions began quietly but urgently. Analysts replayed footage from different angles. Creative teams studied the rhythm of his steps. Marketing strategists noted engagement numbers that spiked abnormally high for content that didn't even feature a campaign. There was no paid promotion, no brand placement, just Jungkook walking, and yet the impact rivaled major fashion shows. That was the moment BALENCIAGA reportedly shifted its internal conversation from admiration to strategy. Because Jungkook's walk didn't just sell an image, it sold an attitude, it sold a feeling. It sold the future of how luxury could be perceived by a new generation, less forced, more instinctive, less loud, more magnetic. Sources close to the fashion industry began whispering about a fantastic offer. Not a typical endorsement deal, not a short-term campaign, something bigger, something bolder. A proposal designed to align BALENCIAGA's avant-garde identity with Jungkook's unspoken influence. The kind of offer that doesn't just include numbers but creative control, long-term vision, and global impact. Because BALENCIAGA didn't just want Jungkook to wear their clothes. They wanted to walk with him. What makes this moment even more explosive is the timing. The fashion world is at a crossroads. Traditional runways are losing their shock value. Influencer marketing is oversaturated. Audiences are craving authenticity, presence, and emotion. Jungkook, without trying, delivered all three in a few seconds of walking footage. That terrified some brands. Because how do you compete with someone who doesn't even need to perform to dominate attention? Stylists noted how Jungkook's posture subtly changed the way clothes draped over his body. Jackets looked sharper, pants moved differently. Even oversized silhouettes, often tricky to balance, appeared intentional and refined on him. His walk activated the garments. It gave them life. It transformed fabric into narrative. Fashion critics began comparing him not to idols but to legends. Figures who changed fashion not through campaigns but through existence. Jungkook was no longer being discussed as a celebrity wearing luxury. He was being discussed as a luxury presence himself. And BALENCIAGA saw opportunity. Reports suggest that the offer on the table wasn't just financially shocking, it was structurally groundbreaking. A role that blurred the line between muse, ambassador, and creative symbol. A collaboration designed to evolve over years, not seasons. One that could redefine how masculinity, movement, and modern luxury intersect. For Jungkook, this wasn't just another brand calling. This was the fashion world acknowledging that he had outgrown traditional labels. What makes fans even more emotional is how effortless all of this was. Jungkook didn't announce anything, he didn't hype himself, he didn't tease or reveal, he simply existed as he always has, authentic, focused, quietly powerful, and the world responded. ARMY noticed something deeper too. That walk wasn't just stylish. It carried history, years of training, years of pressure, years of growth. Every step felt earned. Every movement carried maturity. Jungkook wasn't walking to be seen, he was walking because he knew where he was going. And fashion followed. As speculation around BALENCIAGA's offer intensified, one thing became clear: this wasn't a momentary trend. This was a shift. Jungkook's influence had moved beyond visuals into kinetics, how movement itself could become branding. Designers began asking new questions. How does clothing behave when worn by someone like Jungkook? How does identity translate through motion? How do you design for presence, not just appearance? These questions didn't exist before him. Now they're shaping the future. Whether or not the deal becomes official, the damage, or rather the impact, has already been done. Jungkook's walk has entered fashion history as a reminder that true influence doesn't shout. It moves quietly, confidently, and leaves echoes behind. And as the world waits to see what happens next, one thing is undeniable. Jungkook didn't chase the fashion world. The fashion world chased his footsteps. If this is just the beginning, imagine what happens when he decides to stop walking and start leading. The more the footage circulated, the more unsettling the realization became for the fashion elite. This wasn't a viral moment that would fade by next week. This was a behavioral imprint. Jungkook's walk began to influence how people moved. Fans unconsciously mimicked it. Models referenced it. Street-style videos started featuring captions like "JK Core Walk" and "Jungkook Energy." A simple stride had evolved into a cultural signal. Fashion houses noticed something rare and dangerous at the same time. Jungkook wasn't selling aspiration anymore. He was aspiration. Luxury brands traditionally manufacture desire through distance, exclusive shows, untouchable prices, unreachable lifestyles. Jungkook shattered that formula by doing the opposite. His walk felt reachable, human, grounded, yet paradoxically it elevated everything around him. The corridor became a runway, the air around him felt styled, even silence felt intentional. That contradiction fascinated BALENCIAGA. Internal observers reportedly described Jungkook's presence as anti-performance performance. He wasn't acting fashionable. He was being himself, and fashion bent around him. For a brand built on deconstruction, irony, and cultural rebellion, this was gold. Jungkook embodied the very tension BALENCIAGA has chased for years, raw humanity colliding with high concept. That's when the offer reportedly escalated. Not just money, though the numbers alone were said to rival the most expensive celebrity deals in fashion history, but influence, a say in visual direction, freedom to reinterpret silhouettes, campaigns that wouldn't look like campaigns, moments that felt accidental but were strategically unforgettable. BALENCIAGA wasn't trying to put Jungkook in their world. They were trying to let him reshape it. What truly shook insiders was how Jungkook's walk disrupted the hierarchy of fashion authority. Editors who once dictated trends found themselves reacting instead of leading. Designers accustomed to controlling narratives were suddenly observing a narrative they didn't create. Jungkook had become an uncontrollable variable, organic, unpredictable, unstoppable. And the public loved it. Every slowed-down clip sparked debates. Was it confidence? Was it discipline? Was it emotional maturity? Was it the quiet certainty of someone who has survived pressure and emerged unshaken? The truth was uncomfortable for many brands. It was all of it, and none of it could be replicated. Because Jungkook's walk wasn't styled. It was lived. ARMY felt this deeply. Longtime fans recognized the evolution immediately. This wasn't the wide-eyed teenager chasing approval. This was an artist who knew his worth, knew his path, and no longer needed validation. His steps carried finality, direction, calm dominance. And that scared traditional luxury marketing. Because how do you control someone who doesn't need you? BALENCIAGA's interest wasn't just admiration, it was survival instinct. In an era where authenticity outperforms advertisement, Jungkook represented a shortcut to relevance that money alone couldn't buy. Aligning with him wasn't optional anymore, it was strategic necessity. Whispers grew louder, other brands reportedly began circling. Emergency meetings, revised budgets, sudden creative resets. But BALENCIAGA had one advantage: they understood rebellion, they understood disruption. And Jungkook was disruption embodied, not loud, not chaotic, but quietly irreversible.